I'm Joe Loehr with Loehr Dairy, LLC. I farm with my brother Mark, and we have a dairy farm, milk about 500 cows, and crop close to 1,000 acres. We are charter members of the Sheboygan River Progressive Farmers, and today we hosted a field day with that group here in our field. It turned out to be a beautiful afternoon, even though we got 1.5 inches of rain this morning. A couple things that we've been looking at here in the field today are our planting of soybeans with corn in our corn silage fields. We've seen a nice benefit in digestibility and protein content in our silage in the years we've tried this before. We also see a huge advantage in the root structure carrying loads better, especially in seasons like last year when there's a lot of mud involved with corn silage harvest. Another thing we've had on display at today's field is, in some segments of the field, we interseeded after we planted in areas where we hadn't sown beans. We had a 9-way seeding blend of peas and clovers, rapeseed, a few soybeans and sunflowers in there as well. Got a real nice stand this year on our interseeded cover crop, and what we're seeing in both where the soybeans and the cover crop are in with the corn, we're seeing a lot greener stalk all the way to the bottom, which is possibly suggesting some nitrogen.
Our acres are heavy corn just because we need this corn silage, and then we found we were buying more units and since we stopped growing beans. So we wanted to get some of the benefits of the beans and the nitrogen that they grab out of the air, put in the ground. So we decided to put the beans with the corn. And every year we've done more acres, and I don't see that trend stopping. We have combined the corn that we grow the beans in as well, and it hasn't been an issue at all for combining. And I can tell you that the deer love it in the fall, in the winter.
Yeah, any of these fields with the beans underneath where there's 8 or 12 inches of beans, in February the deer are all over these fields.
Maybe you said, but how heavy did you plant the beans?
We plant about 20 pounds to the acre, 20, 25. Okay. It's not a lot.
What about the other interseed mix?
We were
50.
shooting for 50.
Yeah, so over here you can see more of the bean. I mean, here's some pretty tall beans on the headlands here.
So you did different areas?
Yes, so we got
And you wouldn't, it's hard to imagine that's just 20 pounds because the whole field is kind of covered. So, and we do have a feed sample that from Monday's chopping, and it was about 1.5 points higher on protein than the corn silage averages. And well, it's hard to tell because it was our first sample of the year, and we didn't sample a corn without soybeans, but the digestibility was about 4 points higher than last year. So, and other years we've tested some with soybeans and some straight corn, and have had 2 to 3 points higher digestibility in the soybean corn mix.
When did the interseeding go on?
June 19th.
And so what was the height of the corn at that?
It was, yeah, so those pictures on the table, the corn was probably, I'd say about like that.
Okay.
But another thing to consider is we plant twin rows, so that canopy's sooner, so we have a shorter window to interseed. We have to get that in there so it has enough sunlight before that corn is canopied. And our twin rows are only, what, 22 and a half apart instead of 30. So the sun's getting blocked sooner with the twin rows.
So we planted rye, cereal rye last year at that same planter, and I took pictures, and it came up really nice, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And I watched it throughout the summer, and later in the summer into August, it started turning over, and it got real spindly, and by the time we chopped the corn, it was gone.
Okay.
Then over the winter, I read an article. There's some people in Minnesota do a lot of interseeding, and they basically said cereal rye doesn't work, and I said, absolutely, it doesn't work. They're doing a lot of work on going to 60-inch row or skip rows or 40-inch row to try to get it to work. So we chose, so our recipe this year was cow peas, chickpeas, forage peas, rapeseed, crimson clover, sunflowers, and soybeans. I know I had seen some sunflowers earlier in the year, but I don't really see any right now. Mainly because of our spray program.
Right, we were very limited.
Right.
Either you can't put anything residual out there, or else you have to pick plants that might grow in spite of a residual.
So with growing corn and beans together, we're using a grass and a broadleaf, so that really limits your spray program. Yeah. So you'll see we have this year, because of a lot of moisture, and I know we're not the only ones, there's a fair amount, we'll have a fair amount of weeds in our stand.
So what did you use?
We used Roundup and Dual to try to put down some residual. And then we planted this on the 19th